Join me this morning for my first solo flight. G'day, I'm Outback Tom and I make videos in Outback Australia with my granddad, building things, cooking campfire recipes and exploring our backyard. Now, something I've been keeping a little bit quiet lately is that I've been training to get my plane license, or what's known as a fixed wing license. I'm not looking to become a pilot for work, I'm actually looking to get my license for this channel. I'm very passionate about aviation and I want you to come along for the adventure. To be able to explore all of the Kimberley and the country by air, things like plane camping, landing at remote airstrips in the Australian outback, exploring places that are hard to access, and the list goes on and on. So last month in January, roughly 6 weeks ago, I started flying to Darwin, which is the closest place to do your training from where I live in the Kimberley. I've been flying in, spending about 4 days there and training twice a day. It's been very intensive. I've been flying at Darwin Flight Training and it's been absolutely exceptional. It's one-on-one, the airstrip is private and it's roughly 40 kilometers just out of Darwin. It's also not controlled airspace, so you don't waste any time when you're taxiing on the ground, holding short for larger aircrafts like you would at a big airport. And it's very, very hands-on. You spend an hour doing theory and then an hour flying relative to what you just learned in the classroom. And you learn everything you need to gain your private license. Steep turns, climbing and descending, basic instrument flying, air law, navigation, and a whole lot more. But yesterday was a very special day for me. It was my first solo flight. This is how it looked. The time is 5:17 a.m. on a Saturday morning here in Darwin. If you look outside, it's still dark. And the reason I'm up so early is because it's time for my first solo flight. I'm gonna have a coffee and then make one more coffee after I get ready and have a shower and take that on the road with me. I've got a 40-minute drive out to MKT where I've been doing my training at Darwin Flight Training. I'm gonna pre-flight check the plane at about 6:30 a.m. and my instructor Jane, who I haven't met, but she's the second instructor to sign me off, will meet me at the airfield and we'll do 3 circuits. And if they're good circuits, she'll hop out and I'll get to do my first ever solo flight. A really exciting moment for me, to be honest. Always want my pilot license, and then sort of a couple months ago, set the goal of wanting my pilot license in 2025, and sure enough, here we are on our way, So anyway, I need a coffee, it's still dark outside, and I'm gonna start getting ready. I'll see you on the airfield. The morning was beautiful. Getting out to the airstrip, just there by myself, with the most stunning Northern Territory sunrise, dragging the plane out of the hangar and starting the process of a pre-flight check. My goal hopefully this year is to buy a small plane. I'm not even close to that point yet, but I'd like to have a little plane for Grandad and I to be able to fly around the Kimberley, but we'll just see how we go. I start off with dipping the tanks, making sure there's fuel. Now there is a fuel gauge inside, but when it comes to flying, it's better just to make sure. Something I've really enjoyed about this experience is being back in a learning environment. I didn't go to university, so the closest thing to sort of being in a classroom setting was high school about 10 years ago. So I've really been enjoying this process. Because it's also the first flight of the day, I do 3 drains of fuel to make sure there's no water in the fuel tank and also check the engine oil as well. Because I've come in quite early, I'm in no rush. I'm just making sure the plane is up to spec. And by the way, if you were wondering what aircraft this is, it's a Cessna 172. A very popular plane, great for training, it's safe and reliable, but my instructor did say I would probably grow out of it. As I'm wanting to travel some big distances, say 400 nautical miles or 730 kilometers in the sky from Kununurra to Broome, the Cessna 172 is quite slow compared to other small aircrafts. However, it is one of the more affordable planes when I take a look at the price of an aircraft and the things I'm wanting to do. And mind you, it's still very expensive. Now this check that I'm doing is essentially a good look over the aircraft. Checking the wheels, checking the wings, the ailerons, making sure there's no issues with the plane before heading out for a fly. I switch on the masters, giving me electric controls, and put down the flaps to give them a once over, and then we weren't long off. What an absolute cracking morning for it here in Darwin, Northern Territory. Just waiting on the instructor, Jane, who I haven't met yet, who's going to take me for 3 circuits. And if she feels I'm up for it, she'll get out of the plane and I'll go to do my first solo flight. Just pre-checked it, dipped the tanks, checked the oil, did a walk around, make sure the flaps were okay, the tires are all good. And time to get the sort of logbook, get my headphones, plug it all in, and wait on Jane. see how we go. All right, I didn't film any footage with Jane, my instructor, in the aircraft, but if we take a look at the next clip, you'll see that there's only one person in the plane. Me.
MKT traffic Alpha Mike Golf, roll runway 25 for departure to the west. MKT traffic, Cessna 172 Lima Oscar Romeo, entering and backtracking runway 25 MKT.
So here I am, waiting for some traffic to take off, and as you can see, I was quite nervous to some degree. I make my call and head out to runway 25.
MKT traffic, Cessna 172 Lima Oscar Romeo, rolling runway 25 for circuits MKT.
And to be fair, we have been doing lots of training. By this stage, I've had around 18 hours of flying. That there was my call to let others know in the area that I'm taking off on that runway right now. I look at my instruments, go full throttle, put in some right rudder to maintain the center line, and off we go. I'm looking down, oil temperature and pressure is in the green. The airspeed is coming up, and I'm looking for that airspeed to be at 55 knots. And just as I hit 60 knots, I lightly pull back on the yoke, which brings it up in the air. It takes a while, but once I fully realize I'm flying this plane solo, I give a good smile. It's quite exciting, but you still have to remain focused and fly the plane. Once I hit 500 feet above ground level, I start a left climbing turn onto what's called crosswind. Then, once I'm at good spacing from the runway, I take another left turn onto downwind, still climbing and leveling off at 1,000 feet above ground level. And I make my call to let other planes know where I am in what's called the circuit. I am having a lot of fun, and this is a circuit I've been practicing non-stop. Once I reach late downwind, I do my checks prior to landing, and it's an important habit to learn. I then start my landing procedures.
Second right, center left. MKT traffic, Cessna 172 Lima Oscar Romeo, on base for runway 25, full stop MKT.
I did overshoot when turning onto final, but it was quite small and easy to correct with plenty of height and time.
MKT traffic, Cessna 172 Lima Oscar Romeo, on final for runway 25, full stop MKT.
I've got 30 degrees of flaps down, and I'm looking for 65 knots whilst coming down for landing.
65.
I power out to idle once I'm straight and level above the runway and start holding that back pressure. Even though I loved it and landed fine, I was kind of embarrassed with my landing at the time.
MKT traffic, Cessna 172 Lima Oscar Romeo, backtracking runway 25 MKT.
Tom, congratulations for your first solo.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I may as well need to do it because there's no control tower to tell you that I will do it now.
No, thank you so much. That was what an epic experience. I'm pulling in a second.
What an epic experience. I've got a lot more flying to do, and I'll be back there to keep training very soon, and hopefully we'll have my license by next month in March. Thank you so much for coming along on the adventure. You've been with me, Outback Tom, and if you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. Don't forget you can always support us by liking and subscribing. Cheers, you mob. We'll see you soon.